Hi again and welcome back. In this video, we'll be looking at some more vocabulary words, focusing on some words for exclamations and some conjunctions. Idu means look, see, behold. This is used a lot in the New Testament, particularly in translating Old Testament language, where the Hebrew word hine was often used the same way, to draw someone's attention to something. So idu is a way of drawing somebody's attention. Look, see. And then it doesn't really usually connect very closely with what follows. It's just sort of an exclamation hanging at the front, and then you begin a new clause following it. Ide means essentially the same thing. These are both imperative forms from Adon, and we'll see later in the course exactly how these are formed. But idu and ide serve essentially the same function. On the other hand, if something terrible happens, then you might say, why? No, you're not asking why, although you might want to do that as well. Why means woe, using Old King James language, or oh no, or it's terrible. It's just an expression of dismay. Ge is a flavoring particle. It's kind of difficult to translate, and often just gets left out of translations. You might translate it sometimes indeed, or at least, or really, or even, because it just adds a little bit of extra emphasis to whatever part of the clause we find it in. Conjunctions. We have a couple of conjunctions that are formed through what's called crasis. This is where in Greek two words that are often paired together end up jammed right up against one another, and sometimes the end of one word gets lost and the beginning of the other word gets lost, or they combine. So kago is a crasis formation from kai ego. And once you remember that it's really kai ego, then it makes a lot of sense. Then it means and I, or but I. Ute, and the other form is ude, similarly is from u, not, and te, or de. So it means and not, or not even, or neither, or nor. To say because, you have two common options. One is to use the conjunction dioti. So this would begin a new clause. Dioti, because, and then the clause would follow. And similarly with gar, which means for, or because. Gar is interesting because, like de, it's post-positive. That means you'll never find it as the first word of a clause. It's always the second word. So you've got to remember that even though it's the second word in the clause, it's the conjunction holding that clause together with what came before. On the other hand, if we reverse the causal relationship here, and we want to say therefore, or so, talk about a result, we can say dia, which is a conjunction meaning therefore, or for this reason. Or we can say ara, which means so, or then, or therefore. Mepate doesn't fit anywhere else very easily, but this means lest, or otherwise, or else. You want to do something, mepate, something bad might happen. Lest something bad might happen, or if we wanted to translate it idiomatically, sometimes when we use mepate, we would translate it into English by saying, so that such and such won't happen. Plain is a conjunction meaning however, or but, or only, and it's quite a strong disjunctive conjunction. In other words, marking a strong alternative to what's just been discussed. And then we have this little flavoring particle men, which can sometimes appear on its own, but in the New Testament it appears most often in the combination men and de. And what you have is two clauses, and men appears postpositively as the second word in one clause, and then de appears postpositively in the second clause. So we might read, Simon men pater, huios de kai autos. Now what men and de do when they're used together like this is to hold up two alternatives. And usually we translate this by using on the one hand to introduce the men clause, and on the other hand to introduce the de clause. So Simon men pater, on the one hand, Simon is a father, huios de kai autos, but on the other hand, he is also a son, huios kai autos. And just notice there that I used kai in its less common sense of also.